So I'm Janice Person, JP Loves Cotton, and I'm from Memphis.
I'm Danielle Little, the Cubicle Chick, and I'm from St. Louis.
And today we thought we would talk a little bit about O.J. Simpson. Yeah, you heard it. So, where were you during all the O.J. hubbub?
I had just had my son. My son was born April 10th, 94, and I believe the car chase happened in June of 94. So it was literally a few months. I was still a new mom, and I remember those tabloid shows like Hard Copy and Inside Edition and A Current Affair, and so they did, like, it was, you know, more tabloid-esque type of stories. And I remember learning on that O.J. Simpson's ex-wife had been killed, and at the time they weren't saying he was a suspect. They were just saying how he had flew back from an event to be there for his children, and the children were in the home when she was murdered, and then there was another person that was murdered alongside her, and it was just kind of weird. And then as days started passing, they started saying that he was a suspect, and they broke into, like, whatever I was watching, Young and the Restless or some soap opera while I was nursing my son, and they broke in and said that he was supposed to turn himself in, but he didn't show up. He was missing. Yeah. And then that's when Robert Kardashian, who we will later really know the Kardashian last name, he came and he read this letter, and it was like a suicide type. So it was really kind of scary. And then several hours later, I'm watching the NBA Finals. I can't remember which team it was, but I remember holding my son watching, and then in the corner I just kept seeing this white truck in the little corner, and they never said what it was or anything, and it was just this truck, and I'm like, what? And they finally, after about 5 minutes, broke in to the game and said that that was O.J. Simpson, and he was on the run because he didn't want to turn himself in or whatever, and so they were chasing him. And I just remember my mom screaming in the other room, like, oh my God, he's gonna kill himself, because, you know, at that time we weren't sure what was going on in the car and why he was leaving. Like, why not just turn yourself in and let, you know, nature take its course. It happened for several hours, and I just remember being transfixed because I wasn't sure if we were going to witness him killing himself on television. It was just a really weird thing. Like, we had not up until that point seen that. Now you see high speech or all kinds of stuff on TV, but back then to see someone of celebrity, you know.
I think for me, so I was working in New York at the time, and so I probably didn't catch quite as much of it on TV because I was not watching The Young and the Restless or whatever it was. But I can remember, like, O.J. Simpson, like, he was a huge household name, right? The Hertz commercials, was it Hertz, where he's running through the airport and everything. He was like a name that you really knew and you always respected, and you thought he had a lot of great potential, and he seemed to have like an idyllic kind of life from afar. You know, was even in the Naked Gun movies. And then you started seeing this stuff come about his wife and this murder and her friend, and you really started to kind of wonder what happened. And, you know, when they first said that he was a suspect, it's kind of like, well, always the spouse is always a suspect if somebody is killed. But once it came down to the white Bronco on the highway, everybody stopped, and we all had to question what we thought about OJ and sort of where we were in the process. And it really was one of those things where I felt like at the time everybody in America was watching TV, right? At the time there probably weren't 3 billion stations. It was all on TV. You weren't also watching everything online. You know, so people were like in bars, in restaurants. They were like, hey, have you seen the Bronco? You know, what's up with OJ? And everybody seemed to have a thought. Then by the time I started going through the trial and stuff, I just remember thinking, whoa, he has fallen from grace.
Yeah, so for me, you know, and for a lot of people, they call this was the trial of the century. I think it was one of the first trials that we saw, one of the first cases that involved a celebrity, that involved domestic violence, just play out in our homes. I mean, they showed the on Court TV and other outlets, I think HLN, CNN, they showed the trial every day. For like a year. I think the trial, he was on trial for like at least 9 months to a year. Even the pre-top trial where he was...
People like Cato became a household name.
Yes.
And the face. Everybody knew some Cato.
Yeah. And it was just so much, and just listening to Nicole almost talked from her grave because there were 911 recordings of her reporting him, and
which none of us really had known before.
I did not know that previous to this he had been arrested and had, for domestic violence. Like, that was something that maybe if you were a sports person or followed it, you knew, but I didn't know that. And so it brought a light on celebrity and how celebrities are treated differently than we are. Brought a light to domestic violence and how, women, even successful women who are married to celebrities, can still be a victim. Like, it's not a rich or poor type of situation. Any woman can be involved in that.
Right.
So it brought a light to that. It brought a light to children. So now we have children that no longer have their mother. We have Ron Goldman and his family who now he was just, to me, it seemed like Ron was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't believe he was obviously the target of this.
I can remember, because there was so much hype about OJ and Nicole and all that, and I can remember his family kind of feeling like, we lost our son.
Yeah.
I can remember his parents. Like, that still kind of tears at my heart.
But coincidentally, they were the ones who were very vigilant in the civil trial. I mean, Nicole Brown's family was vigilant too, but you have to also remember, OJ, once he got found innocent, got his children and to take care of, and they were the grandparents of these children, so they still had to have a relationship with him. So they weren't as vigilant as the Goldmans were, which brings us to the fact that OJ is back in jail because of stupidity. Now, I know one thing to be true, and you know one thing to be true of me. If I am to get away with murder, if I'm going to be charged with murder, and I'm going to go through trial, and I'm going to get away with it, you will never hear from me again. I will go fade into Bolivia.
One successful murder is all she needs.
Right.
This is what
I
we're
will
saying.
fade into Bolivia.
Nice.
Not
Bolivia?
That's what Mike Tyson said. He said fade into oblivion. He meant oblivion.
Okay.
He said Bolivia.
Oh, God,
so I'm
Mike Tyson.
So I'm going to fade into wherever, obscurity. And you're never going to hear from me again, right? Because I got off, right?
Right.
But he continued every few months. That's why I believe he suffers from
personality.
Yes. I think he's narcissistic in that he just kept doing stuff. Every couple of months, there was an OJ story after the trial.
He can't help himself.
He's narcissistic. He has narcissistic disorder. So anyway, the Goldman, they won the civil trial, and they were to get all of this money. And they wanted that money, and so they started auctioning off stuff, and OJ didn't like that, so he went to Vegas with his goons, and then now he's in jail because they got arrested for manhandling and for that. And so now he's like 60, almost 70. I don't know how old he is, but he's up there.
And I'm just thinking, like, wasn't he on like Monday Night Football every week? He was like superstar,
And now he's inmate number 225, 6.
She don't know his number.
I don't know
his number.
I mean, I know a lot about OJ. I don't know that. But, it's just sad. Like you say, fall from grace. I think that's the perfect terminology.
And it's weird that more than 20 years later, people are still so intrigued by this story that they're coming up with it.
Yeah, so FX in their American Crime series is doing a season of The People versus O.J. Simpson, starring Cuba Gooding Jr. as OJ. Right. Courtney B. Vance is going to be Johnny Cochran, and John Travolta is playing Robert Shapiro.
I don't see that one yet, but Courtney B. Vance, I love her.
Yes. And so it's going to start airing next year. And it's going to go through the trial as it happened, and with recreations and behind the scenes stuff.
I think that's because we cannot Netflix all the court TV stuff that happened. Everybody loves to be able to go back and rewatch stuff, and so this will give us a recreation.
Exactly. So The People versus O.J. Simpson is coming out next year. So I think that anytime we're talking about American crime, we're talking about like the 10 most whatever moments. In pop culture history. I know the O.J. Simpson trial and O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman will always probably be in that list because it was just so captivating for whatever reason.
And it's so funny to think a slow-moving Bronco was that captivating. Everybody watched the trial. Everybody was looking at that glove and quoting that if it don't fit, you must have quit.
I say that even today on some stuff not related to OJ. We have a whole, I know my age group, and there's if you're watching this, it's kind of like it's like the JFK, where were you when JFK was shot? This is like, where were you with the high speed chase, or where were you when he got found not guilty? And remember,
you know as you would.
Yeah, I took off. I was going to college, and I took the day off because I knew that they were going to do they announced it that next morning they were going to do it, and I was like, I gotta be somewhere because I didn't know how I was going to go. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Where were you during the infamous Bronco chase?
And if you're too young to remember,
then you probably
don't comment. We don't even want to hear from you.
Yeah, like that. I wasn't born.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Right, like, yeah, we don't want to hear it. But let us know. Like, what do you think? Do you think that he was really guilty? Do you think he was innocent? How do you feel about his recent legal problems? And then, will you be watching on FX The People versus O.J. Simpson, starring Cubicle Jr. and a slew of other people? I'm gonna watch. I know. At least I'm gonna watch the first. I'll have to see how it goes.
Gonna watch.
I'm gonna watch.
I don't know about me yet.
I'm gonna watch, and then maybe we'll talk about it.
That's when I look adoringly.
Right.